there are declarations of rights that Muslim bodies have made in recent years. There's a famous one called the Cairo Declaration, which came out about in 1990 in Cairo. And in it are elements that universalists in the West concerning human rights might not find to be very congenial to their own thinking, because there are conditions about everything must be finally subject to the Islamic law and so forth, and obedience to Allah. But I see in this, I guess, a cup that is half full rather than is half empty. And so I suppose this is the closest I've come to an engaged, more social action-oriented type of scholarship in my career than I have been with those more descriptive and behaviorally based studies that I've done in the past, whether on ritual performance or on the comparative views of Muslim societies. So that's the second thing. And the third is a renewed interest in ritual within both Islam and Christianity. And so I've been offering courses for advanced students in recent years on comparative liturgy and spirituality. And this has been accompanied by a deep engagement in field visits and field work, helping students to learn how to navigate within a site or within a field of action and belief, and looking at what that does to students in terms of their development as scholars and as human beings. For example, in teaching a course on comparative Muslim and Christian spirituality, students must make several site visits, but they must prepare for these. And I don't give them a lot of specific detailed instruction on how to do this. I certainly raise ethical issues and issues of decorum and so forth. But in terms of how one presents oneself, a person has to learn that on the spot. And this is very threatening often to students, although at the same time they're fascinated by it, and they want to engage it, and they want to talk about it afterwards. One of the things I've found is if students go into, let's say they've come from a vaguely or a specifically Christian background or Jewish background, that they will often go to a synagogue or to a church, and all they can deal with is their own previous experience. Sometimes it may involve rebellion from patterns that they had learned as a child, conflicts with their parents over authority and over values, or the disgust that they might have felt as teenagers in the boring business of religion. And sometimes it takes a while for them to distance themselves from those earlier experiences and begin to ask themselves, am I able to observe and to make sense of what I observe beyond my own subjective reactions and feelings and values about these things, or evaluations of these things. And then they begin to look at the whole experience that they've had with written text in a different way. And they realize that when they're in a site visit, they're engaging texts that talk back, and not a safe little cooked text that we often feel so comfortable in assigning, because they're harmless and probably worthless, even ones that I've written, in the larger picture, if there isn't this larger engagement and interrogating of these things. And so these are things that I'm still engaged with, and I feel younger every year that I get involved with my students in this way.